Football season is pretty much upon us. Summer is wrapping up, giving way to the start of a new school year and fall weather. And as an American, there's very little that represents our culture quite like American football. It's a unique sport not quite played anywhere else. But in the last decade, the game's presence in Ireland has really taken off, and its popularity has given way to so much more than just new fans and travel opportunities. It's brought about a new age of economic and social cooperation, a partnership between two countries that continue to support each other. And all this, the sport, the cultures, the celebrations, comes together every year just as college football season kicks off. It's the Aer Lingus Football Classic, an annual NCAA Week 0 American college football game that's hosted in Dublin, Ireland. Every year, thousands of Americans flock to Ireland to officially welcome in a new season of college football. Last year, it was the Iowa State Cyclones versus the Kansas State Wildcats. This year, it'll be Texas Christian University's TCU Horned Frogs versus North Carolina's Tar Heels. But the Aer Lingus Football Classic is much bigger than an international sporting event. It's also an annual conference of entrepreneurs, tech enthusiasts, business leaders, and more. It serves as an opportunity to explore new innovations, share ideas, and cultivate a deeper partnership between the two countries. I'm Jennifer Strong, a longtime tech journalist. In this episode, I want to unpack the different ways the Aer Lingus Football Classic continues to shape the international tech and business space, and what it means when two countries come together in honor of a sports game. Welcome to The Next Innovation.
We had a total of something like 24,000 American fans went over for the game. And I think Kansas State had a few more fans go over. But on the plane ride over from connecting Chicago to Dublin, there were people on the plane wearing Iowa State and Kansas State gear. So there was red and gold and purple and white. And it was sort of surreal to have those see all that representation on the flight. And then walking around Dublin was absolutely incredible. There were times where you'd walk into
Mark Boeck works at Iowa State University. He works closely with different corporate partners to enhance relationships on campus. Last year, Iowa State was the selected team for the Aer Lingus Football Classic, and Mark was part of the team that traveled to Dublin in support of the event.
Throughout the city, and Dublin's a relatively small city, and so people were representing their universities and just having a lot of fun. And the number of people who went over a week before the game or stayed a week after the game to tour around Ireland was absolutely incredible. Lots of people I know did that. And
when we spoke with him, he told us about the experience and how significant it was to see the university being represented in Ireland and the pride of being the winning team.
I was in Kinsale and was in a shop and just got chatting with the person working there and mentioned I was from Iowa. And he said, "Oh, Iowa State played in the game last summer." And I said, "Oh yeah, how did you know about that being, here in Kinsale?" I said, "We had tourists coming through," and he pointed to the wall and had an Iowa State banner. And and so I said, it would have been a problem, I think, if you had a Kansas State banner. So I'm really glad to see Iowa State there. But we had postcards made to kind of give to our guests to send back home. And so I ended up sending him one of our postcards because I told him about that, and he said, "I'd love to see that." So it was really interesting that the reach that guests from both universities had into the country. In our main athletics administration building, there, as you enter, they have all of their trophies displayed. And the Waterford Trophy is front and center, and it's highly featured. So every time we're in there, the administrator from athletics who's giving the tour will point out that trophy, and it's really it's a magnificent trophy, and it's really, really great to have it on display there. And it's next to we won the Pop-Tart Bowl a few years ago, and so there's a unique trophy with a toaster on it with Pop-Tarts, and so we have a very elegant Waterford trophy and then a fun Pop-Tart trophy among all of our other trophies in our athletics administration building.
But beyond that, he shared how the game brought together thousands of football fans from America and Ireland, shedding light on a new international tradition. The Aer Lingus Football Classic came to be over 10 years ago, but in reality it grew out of the first American football game in Dublin all the way back in 1988. Padraic O'Kane is the co-founder of the Ireland College Football Classic and CEO of AHL Experiences, a hospitality and event company. He's played a big role in the Aer Lingus festivities for years now.
So the game came about, if there's been games in Ireland, believe it or not, as far back as 1988 when Army played Boston College. Ultimately, it really came to life after a 2012 game when Notre Dame played Navy here. And 35,000 supporters came over, 28,000 from Notre Dame and 7,000 from Navy, which was then the largest movement of Americans ever outside of the United States for an event outside of wartime. And I had the privilege of working with the game for about 18 months beforehand, working with Notre Dame and the Naughton family here in Ireland, the Naughton family behind Glendimplex. And it was an amazing for me as an event person to get involved and being on a management structure to help with the game and support the game and the events, to see what evolved and to actually go over to America. My first game was in South Bend, Indiana in 2011. And our definition of college football here in Ireland is a lot different than what it is in America. It's a lot smaller. An All-Ireland final for us might be 5,000 people. So to go into South Bend and see 80,000 people at a college game, another 25,000 people outside tailgating, just blew our minds in relation to what this is. So after the 2012 game, we just believed this was a huge opportunity to take this to another level. And there was a game in 2014. And then in 2016 was Boston College were coming with Georgia Tech. And we just felt it was too big to lose. And we quickly put a group of people around us to make this a success. And then, like in the States, both schools bring their marching bands and their cheer and everything else. So we do marches into the stadium. And then the stadium itself, it's quite like, but it's Irish style American theatre. We have the flyovers, we have the marching bands, we have the national anthems, we have the very large flags of both countries. We have the National Guards coming together at both countries in relation for the coin toss, etc. So that razzmatazz, as we call it, that you guys are very, very good at, we've taken that and we've added the Irishness to it. And it's good crack, and that's crack CRAIC. What we call it over here is the Irish for fun. So it really turns into a great number of days where the Irish embrace it as well. We're getting our heads around American football slowly but surely, and the rules and everything else. But for a long time, the pageantry of watching the band and cheer and everything that goes on at the quarter breaks were probably more interesting than what was actually going on in the field. So what we promise and guarantee, it's a real fun time when the two schools come over. We embrace their traditions and bring them into that and put the Irishness to it as well, and a few nice pints of Guinness to go along, and a little bit of networking and about relationship, because I guess sports opens the doors for what we do, but the likes of where Enterprise Ireland helps turn the conversation into lasting relationships, whether commercial or personal. There might be a business relationship, but it'll come out of a personal relationship, out of a bit of network, and somebody met somebody in a pub or at one of these events or meetings, and it started off with getting to know each other, and the success of the series so far, it has turned into a commercial piece of business, one way or the other, and that's ultimately what much more in the game, and what bringing the Aer Lingus College Football Classic to Ireland is to Ireland and our partners.
Even though Padraic leads much of the current-day logistics and planning of the game, the idea was actually fostered by Irish businessman Martin Naughton in the mid-90s. When a football game happened to take place on Irish soil, Martin saw the value.
Martin first got involved with Notre Dame was when actually Notre Dame played here for the first time in 1996. And he was invited to the game, and he subsequently became a very good friend of Notre Dame, and a trustee of Notre Dame, and brought faculties here to Ireland. So there's two faculties of Notre Dame in Ireland, both in Marion Square here in Dublin and Kylemore Abbey down in Galway. So that Irish connection, while they're called the Fighting Irish, they didn't have a huge connection up to a number of years ago, and Martin has brought that on. And I guess doing the 2012 game, for me, who's somebody who specialises in large-scale events, made so much sense to be involved. But I remember when the second game happened here in 2014, and Martin gave me a call to come into his office, and he said, "Padraic, would you mind supporting the guys in Croke Park? They're bringing another game in, and it was Penn State versus the University of Central Florida, and it was done at a late notice that was coming in. There was less than a year's notice." But I remember walking out the door of the office, and I turned around and I said, "Martin, I get the 2012 game in Notre Dame, etc., but why are we supporting this one? In other words, he would have been funding my management team to go in and support what was there. And his answer always stayed with me. He said, Padraic, they're the young men and women. And when he said women, he meant the chair and the band and everything else. These are the future young men and women of America that are our future CFOs and CEOs. They will be looking for European headquarters. And I and you might be well dead and gone at the time, but they'll have made that connection with Ireland and they'll always have it, etc. So to see that visionary of someone who we regard as one of our most visionary entrepreneurs probably ever. And a lot of people go, what's a sporting event going in there? We don't overly see it as a sporting event. Sport is the catalyst that brings it in here. This is very much a business event in relation to what it can achieve between the Irish and American event, and economically through tourism, bringing in such a large major event of 150 million odd average per game into the Irish economy, as well as making those connections and being broadcasted into the United States to anything between 4 and 6 million, depending on the game and the time of the game. It was Martin's and Don's vision and of doing this, and encouragement to the likes of myself to go and do it, and we've done it, and it's so fitting that the trophy is called after both of those men.
Earlier this year, Martin Naughton passed away, leaving behind a cherished legacy that extends beyond borders. As preparations for this year's game are underway, attendees acknowledge the event's significance in economic, social, and cultural enrichment. The 2026 Aer Lingus Football Classic will be played by Texas Christian University and the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. In an effort to better understand how these universities and their respective states are preparing, we spoke to several leaders about what it really means to be part of the year's festivities. Adriana Cruz is the executive director of the Texas Economic Development and Tourism Office. We recently caught up with her to discuss how the Aer Lingus game is representative of Irish interests in America and in Texas, and how that translates to greater economic development.
So I think part of it is the business climate and the environment that you find in Texas. It's a very reasonable regulatory environment, a great business climate, very supportive of business, which gives businesses and entrepreneurs the freedom to try new things, the freedom to innovate, the freedom to be successful, maybe not be successful, but try again and iterate. And so you have a very supportive environment. Ireland is just an incredibly important country for us, just from a historical perspective, a cultural perspective. And then the tech sector, there's so much going on between the state of Texas and Ireland when it comes to technology. Texas tech companies that are in Ireland, and Irish companies that are also looking to Texas. It's been some really, really wonderful, very fruitful conversations. And so that relationship, we hope, will continue to grow and expand.
We also had a chance to speak with Christopher Chung, CEO of North Carolina's Economic Development Partnership. For him, the Aer Lingus Football Classic is more than a celebration of sports. It serves as an opportunity to showcase the technological innovations that are shaping the state.
That's just the constant effort we're trying to put forward at events like this, getting this Aer Lingus Football Classic another chance for us to really shine a showcase on North Carolina in a way that's really hard to do. I mean, we can take a group over there any time of year, right? It's a short flight. We've got a direct flight now from Raleigh-Durham Airport to Dublin. We've got seasonal flights from Charlotte to Dublin. So it's an easy connectivity. But you don't always get the chance of a premier college football game to kick off the football season in a way that's going to get a lot of eyeballs, just not within the public alone, but within the business community.
North Carolina is home to a burgeoning tech scene, specifically med tech like Eaton and Train Technologies. Some companies in this field have deep relationships with Ireland, and in some cases, North Carolinian-founded tech companies are headquartered in Ireland. But where does that all come from?
Well, I think it begins with our four-year universities, especially now we're up to 5 of what are called R1 research universities. You're probably familiar, this is the highest level of designation afforded to American universities, and it speaks to their research capabilities. So we had 3 for a very long time, and they're the 3 that make up the research triangle region: Duke, University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, and North Carolina State University. Just this past year, 2 more were added to that R1 designation: East Carolina University, which is in Greenville, and then UNC Charlotte, which of course is outside that big town called Charlotte. And so I think that suggests a lot of tremendous innovation going on just within those 5 universities. It's not the only places where we're seeing innovation and technology happening across our higher education system, but those are where it's happening at the highest level, and that's what that R1 designation reflects. Innovation is one thing. How do we commercialize that? I think that's a challenge for most states that are not in Boston or Silicon Valley, is you have these great educational institutions generating potentially world-changing intellectual property. How do you help the people who take those research ideas and turn them into commercial enterprises that can end up investing in creating jobs within North Carolina? That's where there's been a lot of effort focused in recent years at just standing up entrepreneurial support organizations, creating dedicated funds that can help commercialize technology. These are all tools in the toolbox to help make sure that we aren't just generating ideas that get exported somewhere else in some other state or even country gets the economic benefits. We want to retain more of that economic upside, but we have to have a policy environment that supports that. So friendly taxes, friendly regulations. We also want to make sure that we have support structures, because people who generate these ideas and this innovation, they aren't necessarily business people. So can you surround them with the kinds of resources that allow them to get through some critical funding needs, to scale that production, and to grow an enterprise that, again, is going to result in investment and job creation?
Tommy Powers is the Vice Chancellor for Innovation, Entrepreneurship, and Economic Development at the University of North Carolina. As Christopher Chung mentioned, UNC is just one of a handful of prominent academic institutions in North Carolina, taking the lead in American innovation.
So Carolina is a top 10 research institution and has been for many years. So we bring well over $1 billion in every year for faculty-sponsored research. And that research spans a wide variety. It starts with our expertise in the life sciences, which is something I know is a strength of Ireland as well. We have an incredible medical complex, the #1 pharmacy school, #1 global health school, #1 baccalaureate for nursing, one of the top dental programs. And that is a huge engine for the innovation that is coming out of this university. We've founded over 200 IP-based startups and hundreds more that are not IP-based. And really, we'd like to see ourselves as one of the primary economic engines for the state. One huge advantage of Carolina is we sit just outside the Research Triangle Park, one of the top research parks in America. It's very heavy in life sciences, and they see us as an engine for innovation, for new ideas, not just in life and biosciences, which is a core strength, but technology as well. So we have that advantage here at Carolina. It's not just a fantastic pipeline of research, translational research that moves out into industry, but we don't have to sell it too far. We've got huge corporate partners just outside of our door, and that's an increasing focus for us, is a closer partnership, not just with the companies outside of our door, but it's one of the reasons we're so excited to come to Ireland. It is much more than a game. We're doing events around health tech, around sports tech, a CEO roundtable, and we want to create lasting partnerships between some similar focused states and entities. Ireland is focused so much on technology and life sciences, and those are two of the strengths of North Carolina.
UNC is emblematic of the broader context at hand. Ireland and the U.S. have quietly fostered a partnership that continues to empower entrepreneurs, innovators, and leaders. It's gone relatively unnoticed, but in the past decade, it's events like the Aer Lingus Football Classic that have increased the capacity for collaboration among the two countries.
I think Ireland and North Carolina are running the same play, which is to really bet on talent, bet on research, stay global. I think Ireland has got us on beer and crack in the pubs, and we may have you all on barbecue. But this is about growing those relationships. And 3 years from now, I could see an Irish sports tech company that wants to partner with a world-class athletics program with 28 fantastic sports about human performance and longevity. I could see the med bio space too. We have an enormous new campus that we are going to be building out that is intended to be where innovative companies, faculty, students, and AI come together to really build the future for the public good. So we've got a unique opportunity for any Irish company that wants to be in a fast-growing state, that wants to be in a geographically important area, with a school with a long history of innovation, but a very bright future of building something new. This will be the place where the future is built, and we'd love to build that in partnership with Irish companies.
So much of this is what makes the Football Classic so exciting for so many. The game is merely one piece of the larger pie. Both Irish and American interests are celebrated, creating a space for leaders to connect and grow. Here's Mark Boeck again on his experience attending last year.
I wouldn't even venture to guess all the conversations that were happening, but, someone, a representative from a dairy company that's investing in the state of Iowa, ended up meeting with at least two companies and going to do a farm tour and a facility tour of dairy programs in Ireland. And he came back just super excited about the connections he made. I would say we had conversations with representatives from about 10 companies, primarily with our digital ag program, our animal science program, and our College of Vet Med, to talk about research being done, advancements being made. There have been some really great connections. We had one connection we made was with Kerry Group, that was a sponsor of the Aer Lingus Classic, and a government relations person from the U.S. was there, and we were able to introduce our president to the chair of Kerry Group, and this guy and I decided at the CEO lunch that it would be a failure if we did not have a connection between someone from Kerry Group and Iowa State before October 1st. And the head of sustainability for Kerry Group, who's based in Omaha, and one of the lead recruiters came to Iowa State for a day, and it was really phenomenal because we had them meet with departments on our College of Ag, Food Science, Health and Human Science. So that's just one example of something that's come out of that, with a huge global company with the U.S. presence and making deeper connections at Iowa State that probably would not have happened without this experience.
Sports can bring millions of people together in pure joy and celebration. And the Aer Lingus Football Classic represents a time people can look towards a more promising future. When Martin Naughton and Padraic O'Kane really started working on making this an annual tradition, the vision wasn't just for a yearly sporting celebration. It was a deeper, more focused effort at ensuring that millions around the world could take advantage of a partnership like that of Ireland and the U.S.
I guess we stopped exporting people into the United States in the 1980s. And obviously before that, through famine times and everything else, a lot of people had to leave this country as early as the 1980s to find employment, to find prospect, to find life, etc. Thankfully, we no longer have to do that. Yes, people go on J1 visas and are going more for work now because we've hundreds of thousands of people that works in the States, and hundreds of thousands of people from the States that work in Ireland. I think we're the fifth largest economic benefit factors into the United States from a trade perspective. So the relationship between Ireland and the United States is absolutely huge. Keeping that is really, really important. But if we don't keep that and keep that relation going, so taking something like the game and, the fact that it's annual now, where it was sporadically over the years, we know what's happening the last week in August each year. It's special. People are now planning it. We have, some of our senior politicians and business people now don't go on a holiday that week because it's important to the diary to be here and in Dublin. I think the relationship between Ireland and America is very, very special in so many ways. It doesn't matter who's in our prime minister, it doesn't matter who's your president. The relationship is just so tight and so strong, and we need to keep it that way. It's only a 5-hour flight over and back, depending where you're coming from. And depending which way you're going as well. It can be an extra hour the other way, but the connectivity between Aer Lingus and the United States, I think we're in 17 or 18 hubs now in the States, is absolutely huge. The fact that Ireland is the only European English-speaking country in the EU as well is really strong. And it's European headquarters to so many tech US companies, medical companies, med tech companies, etc. So having something like this that they can all celebrate the relationship around and bring their colleagues, bring their staff, bring their clients and all the rest of it has really worked. And thankfully all of those companies and business and organizations have got in behind the game and are part of the game.
Thanks for listening to The Next Innovation. This series was produced by Situation Room Studios and powered by Enterprise Ireland, investing in the next wave of innovation. Our executive producer is Christine Barada, and our senior producer is Sharon Barrero. Additional production assistance by Global Situation Room. I'm your host, Jennifer Strong. Until next time.